Yesterday, the CJN of Nigeria swore in new justices and he gave several admonitions to them. Now joining us live from Kaduna State, we have Barrister Subair Abibakar, a legal practitioner, who is going to join us and tell us more on this topic. Many thanks for being with us at this time. So, the CJN yesterday lamented the steady rise in political cases. How would you react to this development?
uh, the Chief Justice of Nigeria was very right. And I think not only judges, not only legal practitioners, not only people in the legal profession, but every Nigerian will agree that the toll of electoral and political cases on our courts are becoming too enormous. There are a lot of daily and practical cases that should go on, and it is the reason for which all these courts were set up. Take, for example, the High Court. Take, for example, the High Court of Kaduna State, the High Court of Port Harcourt, or the High Court of Lagos State. In Lagos State, for example, there are enormous economic and maritime issues that are daily being handled by the High Courts. The same thing for Port Harcourt. And here in Kaduna, we daily handle cases of enormous land issues that involve a lot of money, and a lot of economic consequences are followed as a result of these electoral cases. The reason is because, you see, a judge who is a judge in a daily and practical matter in the High Court will be appointed to a tribunal. Once he is appointed to the tribunal, those cases he is handling in his court can no longer go on. Sometimes the tribunal will take for as long as 3 months or 4 months before they even conclude their matters. And so those cases that are already in those courts will stand still. Nothing will happen to them. They will always be adjourned, and litigants will be tired. Some of the litigants, having exhausted their patience, will even leave their cases because these courts are not there. The level of electoral and political cases are too much. The reason is because Nigerians are very, very politically litigious. Probably, as the Chief Justice of Nigeria pointed out, there is no country in the world that has the volume of cases arising from electoral and political disputes as Nigeria. This is because across all the federation, you can see that there are tribunals of various types going on with cases of various dimensions across the country. In some countries, it is not like that. And look at the presidential election. It is also litigious. At the level of the National Assembly, it is the same thing. At the level of the governorship, it is the same thing. At the level of the State Assembly, it is the same thing. I think there should be a mechanism where most of these cases will be reduced. One of the ways is to go back to the Lower Ways Committee report, which try to enhance the process of our electoral transparency in such a way that, one, political parties will be conducting their primary elections transparently, such that the qualification of candidates, how candidates emerge, and the role of party members in the emergence of candidates will be so transparent that anybody who loses that election will agree that he was not shortchanged. Ditto to the INEC and the state security services. You know that if somebody wins a primary election, he goes through the process of screening and vetoing his academic and constitutional qualification at the state security service. Let them be clear and transparent and insist on going headlong with the process of vetoing, so that not after election that we hear a candidate is not qualified because of his academic problems. Ditto for the INEC. INEC has every ample time. If a candidate is nominated, if he is nominated by his party, before the general election, there are 90 days for display. INEC should take this opportunity to go through these processes. Let it be transparent. And at the time of election, INEC should be transparent in conducting this election. Its officers, including those ad hoc staff, should be very, very transparent and diligent in dealing with the public and with the political parties. Once this is done, I believe that a time will come when the volume of cases will be reduced, and those courts that are daily being manned by our judges will now take up the daily and practical issues that will be going on in those courts across the country.
Thank you very much for that. Now, how do you think the judiciary itself has contributed to piling up of cases that should have been dispensed on time?
What most people do not know is that, especially at the lower courts, if you go to our area courts across Nigeria and our magistrate courts across Nigeria, except for few high courts in some states that do not have congestion. But if you go to the High Court of Lagos State, to the High Court of Rivers State, to the High Court of Kano State, to the High Court of Kaduna State, and sometimes to the High Court of Abia State, you will see that even the High Court judges are doing their best to see that they decongest these cases. At the Court of Appeal, it may interest you to know that cases filed in the last 3 years, some of them have not been heard because of the volume of cases on appeal that are coming to the Court of Appeal. At the Supreme Court of Nigeria, there are cases that have been filed 5 years ago. They have not even been mentioned because all cases of appeals arising from the various divisions of the Court of Appeal across Nigeria go to only one Supreme Court. But you see, if you go to an area court on a Monday or on a Wednesday, casually, and take up the cost list of that judge who is supposed to preside over these cases, you will see that an area court will have more than 27 cases. Some of these cases involve arguments of lawyers. Some of these cases involve the moving of contentious motions. Some of these cases involve taking of witnesses. Some of the witnesses could be 2. Some of the witnesses could be 3. And some of the testimonies are very long. So an area court judge will sit in court from 9 a.m. and will remain seated on the bench until about 5 p.m. Sometimes they don't even have the time to go for their breakfast. Sometimes they sit on that seat attending to cases. How can a judge sitting like that, writing in the handwriting, not using any audiovisual or computer gadgets, how can a judge carry on in that position and you expect that judge to rise up to the Supreme Court of Nigeria? So Nigerians are generally litigious. What I think we should do is for the state governments, through the state judicial service commissions, to employ more people into the lower courts. Then at the higher courts, I still believe that some of our judges, especially in the High Court, are not enough. The National Judicial Council can open a wider dragnet so that judges can be employed and these matters be decongested from most of these judges that are today handling these matters. The Court of Appeal has many divisions. The divisions are being expanded. My suggestion is that every state should have a division of the Court of Appeal, given the bedrock of cases that are coming up from the area court through the magistracy to the High Court before it goes on appeal to the Court of Appeal. I believe that every state should have a division of the Court of Appeal of Nigeria. As for the Supreme Court, if we cannot relocate the Supreme Court from the federal capital, I think the panel should be expanded, and most especially the Constitution of Nigeria should be amended so as to bring in more justices of the Supreme Court. If we have more panels at the Supreme Court, even if we do not have divisions, we can be able to listen to appeals, and appeals cannot last for as long as 4 years before they are mentioned. So basically,
unfortunately, we do not have much time. Many thanks for sharing your views with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me.
And that's Subair Abibakar, a legal practitioner.